Okay, I'm
Well,
good.
why don't we go ahead and get started, and let's have an opening prayer. And Brother Cottam, could I ask you to give that opening prayer?
Father in heaven, we're grateful this evening to meet together in our emergency response meeting. We're thankful for our callings. We're thankful for this program in this area that helps us be prepared and respond appropriately to help the members and others in this area respond to various disasters. We pray that we might be inspired, we might be directed by Thee, and we might accomplish what we need to. We might be able to accomplish Thy will for us in this area. We invite Thy Spirit to be with us this evening and open this meeting unto Thee in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Thank you. Stephen Egbert, I don't see Lorraine Hernandez on here, and I know she really wanted to get on. She originally contacted you, is that correct?
I don't remember right now. I'll look through my emails. Where was she from?
Lorraine Hernandez is one of our originals from Riverside, from Temecula.
I'll go look through my emails and see if I can find.
You see a phone number for her and you can message her. She had asked me for the link, but I couldn't send it to her until I got home from work. So
Okay.
she may have not looked at her
It
email.
might be on the old rosters I've had if she had callings previously.
Okay.
What was her name again?
Lorraine Hernandez.
Okay. I'll look. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So sorry I did not get an agenda out, but I do have one. I just didn't send it to you because I was still formulating it in my head. But I was going to see if we had any new on here. Good to see you, Robert Duhamel. And oh, hello, there's Lorraine. Stephen, never mind. Lorraine just joined us. You can cease and desist that search. Lorraine, I wanted to introduce you to everyone here. I'd already kind of told them that you had been one of kind of the original members when we were first starting up this emergency response program. And it was a shame when we lost connections with you. We were kind of hoping Riverside would develop its program and take you under their wing, but I hear that has not quite happened for you.
How long have you been running this program?
Brother Egbert, do you remember? I'm thinking like 2000
years.
Perry, before you, there was Sister Warner. Claudia Warner ran it for about 5 years. Before her, I was kind of by myself trying to figure out how to meet expectations. So we started with Brother Gardner, who was a sealer in the temple, started kind of about 2008. So Terry's been around about half that time.
Wow.
But most of you probably really didn't know we did anything until Terry came around.
Yeah, she gets things done. She's an act.
Right.
Well, I try and find other people to surround myself with that help me get things done. So you guys have all done a great job. Let's see, what else were we going to say? Yeah, I think it was about 2015 or something like that. I think Stephen's right.
It's about halfway between we've been doing it for about 15 years. We were supposed to, at that time, Orange County had a very rigorous program. And the whole point was to try and gear up and become like them. Well, they don't have a program anymore because we have Terry and they don't.
Yeah, they lost their go-to person, huh? All right. So with that out of the way, again, we welcome Lorraine and anyone else that might be new. Welcome back, Brother Duhamel. It's always nice to have you join us as well. And Sister Jimenez, thanks for listening in. And I'll give you time to make any comments if you need to. If anybody, as I go through this agenda, again, if you have any questions or anything, you can always put it in the chat. If you have any information you want to share with anyone, you can always put that in the chat too. And And if we get to talking and you have a question, I guess you could raise your hand if we if we talk right over you. So first of all, I wanted to find out, is everyone on this call so far? Are you getting automatic reminders? Are you signed up to the calendar that Mike Guyman put out? That once you put it in your calendar, it should give you an automatic reminder for this meeting with the link. Is there anyone who's not getting that? Raise your hand. I could see a bunch of you. Mike DeGraw is not getting that.
They have to click on it. They have to click on it and download it when I send it to them. If they just click the address and go to the address, then they won't have it loaded in their calendar.
Mike, I click on it and download it. That's what I do.
Yeah, go to the invitation that I sent out earlier, and maybe I can send another one, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I
I keep up by Terry's wonderful messages. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's what I'm afraid of. Party, then everybody doesn't come to the table, but we do plan on having it unless
I put it in my calendar. I put it in my calendar manually, so I should be okay.
Okay. All right, but it probably would be nice, especially for those new on the call tonight, Mike Guyman, if we could resend it. Lorraine Hernandez, can you put your email in the chat, please? That way Mike can have it and we can make sure you get the auto updates.
I'm not showing that she has any audio. Lorraine, can she hear us?
I'm not sure. I know I asked her questions. I see she's
now.
trying to connect to audio, but it keeps saying not connecting. Anybody want
to Lorraine, if you can hear us, but I don't see that you have any audio. Just text us whether you can hear us or not.
I think she hears us. That's why she's trying to connect. So I'm guessing that she does.
Okay. We'll let her try and figure that out.
Is there a phone number that goes, is there a phone number that she could call in to do audio?
Yeah, it's well, it depends on, it should be in the invitation depending on how that was sent out. Because I didn't send them out. Terry's sending them out.
Yeah, I just copied the old link and sent it out with the phone numbers.
Okay. And
Let me check.
And then also be sure that when you get the invite or you get your reminder of the invite, if there's someone you want to invite that you think should participate, like ward specialist or someone newly called or a high councilman newly called, please forward those invites out so we, are able to reach the people that need this the most, want to be connected. Let's see. One of the things we've been talking about, and we'll circle back around to it a little later, but be thinking about your boots on the ground and how that's coming, because we're going to ask about that. Be thinking about your emergency response councils, and if you've been able to make connections, we're going to ask you about that later. And any other things that are going on in your stake in ways of training or fairs or things that you've gone to that you want to share information about, and let us know. Be thinking about that, because when we come around to you and ask you individually, you can answer all those questions. Also be thinking if you have any new callings in your stake for high council, emergency response, communications, stake or ward callings. It'd be great if you put that information in the chat as well so we can keep our list updated. And with that, Mike Guyman, did you get those pictures that I sent to you?
Yeah, I did. They didn't want to show well. I'm putting them in a Google presentation here.
Okay. You want me to go on until that's
go
ready?
ahead. I'll let you know when they're ready. I got one more I just need to insert.
Okay, perfect. I know Beverly Blaylock was not able to be at the meeting here tonight, but she is our website specialist. And just remember that we have the SD preparedness website that she is working on. It's still very functional, and she's making adjustments to it all the time. So it's really going to be a fabulous website. And I think she's planning on rolling it out in its entirety at our training in September, the in-person training, I should say. But if you see things on that website that you think we should be including and we haven't yet, we're always open to your suggestions. So
Lorraine says she can't hear anything. I think she's trying to dial in.
Okay.
She's dropped off.
Okay, that's unfortunate. Lorraine, just so you know, with that, there's also a Facebook page at San Diego Emergency Preparedness.
She can't hear anything.
Right, I got that. But she runs a group off of that and updates constantly with emergency information. And she has never stopped doing that. So she still is contributing to our cause. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I went to, I had an invite for emergency medical response training from a group out of Tel Aviv. And if you can imagine, they had a very similar approach to a mass medical emergency response in the sense of always assessing for safety when you first come on the scene, call for help, you know, all the things down the line that you've probably heard in different trainings that you've taken. What was interesting is, though, that they started out with, say, Americans love their protocols. And in Tel Aviv, they kind of just do what needs to happen to get the job done when they're in that situation. They still have steps that they consider, but they very much look around for the resources around them and use what is at hand. And they had us go through scenarios and would take people out of the room and have them wait, and then they would take other people in the room and have them be victims. And they had shirts that they had everybody that was a victim wear. And each one of these shirts were different in the way that they had some sort of trauma to the body on them. So whether there was a puncture wound or a bullet wound, whether it was in the arm or several on the torso or something in the back as well as the front, you never knew what you were going to get when you were the person that had been sent out of the room. And they would try and walk you through, what are you doing? What are you looking for? What is your next steps? But one of the first things they always said was, well, the first scenario I should say that they involved us in was if you were a bystander standing on the street and something happened, what's the first thing that you should do? And I'll throw that out to any of you. What would be the first thing if you were a bystander on the street and saw an emergency happen? What would be the first thing you would think we should do?
I'd look around to see if I was in danger. Yeah.
Okay, danger, that's one. Anybody else?
Take cover.
Take cover too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Well, one of the things that they said was, you know, call 911, right? Mm-hmm. We know that. And they walked us through, how do you report a scene? And they had 4 of us go out, and then one at a time brought us in and showed us a different scene and then asked us different questions. And they started by saying, you're on King Street, and they showed us the scenario of something that happened. And then they said, you're calling 911. Hello, this is 911. How can I help you? What would be the first things you would think you would say? Anybody have any ideas? If you're reporting an incident and you're calling 911, what are some of the things you should identify?
I remember right, there's location. They usually want to know who you are. I don't know why. But they want to know who you are. They want to know the location. They want to know if it's life-threatening. If they need to send emergency response people.
Okay, anyone else?
Need to tell them
Contact
what kind of
number.
disaster.
Whoop, I heard two people, one at a time. Go ahead.
You need to tell them what kind of disaster or what kind of emergency it is.
Okay. Someone else?
I was just saying a callback number if you lose,
Yeah.
so they can call you
And
back.
they'll walk you through a lot of that, right? You know, but one of the things when, for instance, I came in was he led me through a bit of the scenario. And so not knowing what was expected. And even though I've had training in the past, because he told me I was on King Street, he said, hello, you know, 911, how can I help you? And I identified myself. I identified that I was on King Street. I identified that there was an accident, multiple victims down, ambulance needed. And I don't remember if there was a couple of things. And then I walked away. And then he showed another scenario and had the second person come in and he walked them through the same thing. And each one of them tried to identify, just as you did, different ways that they would report the scene. And the one thing he came back to at the end was, and I kind of faulted him for not thinking of it in the beginning, was to say, where on King Street are you? Like Mike DeGrasse said, location. Is it enough to just give him, you know, I'm on Church Street, I'm on King Street or whatnot. And the scenario that he showed us never showed like any house numbers or any cross streets or anything like that. And because he said, you're on King Street, you know, that's the first thing all of us went to, but we didn't really identify the exact location. And his point was to the scenario was he took an actual event where somebody kept going. They used a vehicle to cause trauma and then kept going, sped away. And so we're reporting the incident. We're on King Street and people are down, and yet further down the road, that person went on to make more havoc. And again, people are calling in and they're saying they're on King Street. And so the ambulance is going all over up and down King Street, and they stop at the first one they see and they think they're there. And yet people further down the road, and he gave 4 scenarios. This apparently scenario that really did happen, you know, went on for miles and created 4 different scenarios. And that ambulance was only going to one because they didn't know multiple ambulances were needed, because each time they identified it was always on King Street, but never a specific. So it was just kind of something interesting to keep in the back of our heads. But the training went on, and eventually this was done in a Jewish synagogue, and they actually did a mass shooting within the synagogue and had a group then go in as first responders and try and figure out all the different ways that you would secure the area, make sure the victims were not the perpetrators, make sure you could assess and triage the victims for most accurate help and quickest response, and that you cleared the area and that you found all the victims. And again, it was just really interesting because I've done several hands-on trainings before, and each time I do something, it's amazing how much, even when you know that scenario is just a training, how much I still left out of what I knew I probably should do and I still didn't do. So anyways, I just thought it was a great refresher in the fact that we have those opportunities around the county through different organizations that offer trainings, you know. So if you hear about something, especially if it's a free training, it's always great if you can make the time to go to this. I was supposed to go to a 4-hour training. There was probably only 25 of us that showed up, and so they were able to reduce the training to about 2.5 hours. And it was really great. It was worth my time, and it was a good refresher. So again, encourage you to look for opportunities like that, and you know, see what you can bring back to your own congregations in the way of offering trainings, you know, on a ward or stake level, even whether that's basic first aid, CPR, ham radio, stop the bleed, you know, even a response like this situation. I know this Tel Aviv group is going all over San Diego County and offering this training through different venues. And I just happened to get an invitation because a security guard is part of my nonprofit group and had alerted me to it, and so it extended me an invite. So anyways, I just wanted to share that. Yes, Mickey.
Yeah, so I just got back from Arizona, but so I missed. I was trying to talk to my son and update it while you were talking. I don't know if you brought up this fentanyl thing.
I was going to get to that, so please.
Yeah, it was really good. San Marcos CERT put it on, but they invited the public, and it was 2 hours. But oh man, the information that was passed out in this was amazing. And there's a guy's name that you can contact. His name is William Perno, and his email address is I can put it in the thing, wperno@saysandiego.org. And then there's a phone number down there too. At the end of it, I mean, the whole point of it is fentanyl is incredible. And they would say, this one fire department guy that was doing the training for San Marcos CERT had his neighbor's wife call him and say, my husband isn't breathing very well. Can you come over and check him out? Because I think he's an EMT as well. And he said, okay, I'll be over. And his wife, the fire department guy's wife, is a nurse. And he goes, yeah, here, take this Narcan with you just in case. And the lady called back and was frantic. He had stopped breathing, went over there. Apparently it had some surgery, didn't have enough medication. He was out with a friend. The friend said, here's some OxyContin I got. Didn't say where he got it. And he took it, and it was laced with fentanyl, and he had stopped breathing. At the end of this thing, they will give you free fentanyl. I mean, no, not free fentanyl, sorry, free Narcan. They just say, how many boxes do you want? I got 2 boxes myself. They say, carry it with you. Don't leave it in a hot place, but carry it with you. You never know who you're going to run out. This is open to anybody. You can set up a group. And as I said, it's, about 2 hours, but well worth the time spent. It's an amazing program. So you can get it, get your ward to do it, get your stake to put it on, get your community center in your area, in your city, get the information. But I'll put the information for this guy in the chat. It was incredible.
Yeah. And, sometimes people might wonder, well, why do I need that training? I never hang around that stuff, but you just never know, like she had pointed out.
Like the neighbor, you never know. And the nice thing about this Narcan is if you haven't taken in fentanyl, it doesn't do anything to you. So, you don't need to worry. It's not going to kill someone if you give it to them. Unless, it will help you if you've been exposed to fentanyl. Otherwise, it doesn't do a thing.
Okay. Good to know.
I'll put it in the chat.
You want to see, you see these slides, these pictures?
Yeah, I was starting to see them, so I'm ready to go. If you're ready,
let me try it again. I didn't know if you could see them or not. So let's do this. Come on. Share the screen.
I saw some numbers recently where the common folk like us who live in rural America, even in big cities, the likelihood or the statistics that we would be involved in or witness a violent crime a year ago was fairly low. That number has increased dramatically in the last year. The likelihood that the normal Joe will run across or will themselves be involved in some kind of a crime or witness a crime where they have to render assistance is going up dramatically year over year. So these kind of trainings I think are good because we can't anymore think that this stuff will never happen to me. And that's kind of where we're part of emergency anyhow, because it's the likelihood of it happening, something happening that you're going to be involved in over the next 5 years is high. It's increasing at a very rapid rate.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm very sorry because I do see that picture is kind of grainy. Yep. It certainly isn't on my end when I sent it. So I'm not sure why that didn't translate very well. But regardless of the graininess, what I attended was a 211 training. How many of you are aware of 211 and what it does? Or how many of you don't know what 211 is? Okay. So you know what 911 is, right?
No, I don't know what that is. Come on.
So 211 would be considered another way to get information, a non-emergency line, a dedicated 3-digit number, easy to remember, and it is hooked into all the emergency response agencies. So they have a real-time person. In other words, if the emergency operations center opens and you've got different chairs in that, getting information, 211 has a person there. And as information's coming into the fire or to the sheriff or to, whoever has the emergency, it is going into the 211 database. And in smaller emergencies, they have, regular staff of volunteers who rotate on a daily basis and answer calls. So if you have a question, something's going on, where do you know anything about it? Chances are they're going to know about it and they can report on it. And it will be accurate information as came from that source. In a bigger emergency, in a mass emergency, they look for people who are willing to be trained as call center volunteers, and then can come in and rotate through a larger emergency on a 24-hour basis so that there's always people staffing those phones. And, it helps with, oops, I just got off what I wanted. Hang on. It helps with, rumor control. It's giving you accurate information in a real time. It's that non-emergency information line. And I don't know what else I could say about that. The authority level it has, it's actually within the county emergency plan. It's written in and specifically in the Annex L as public information, and several other annexes as well. So it's well used by all the information centers. Now, we're always asked to use and promote Just Serve to integrate with our community neighbors on helping them get volunteers, as well as looking for things you can volunteer for. But I found it interesting. San Diego itself has another system like Just Serve. It's called Hands-On San Diego, but I think you have to pay as a vendor to be on there to post your stuff on there, whereas Just Serve is free. So we're always offering for people, oh, I understand you're using, Hands-On San Diego. That's great. Do you want another platform that you don't have to pay for to possibly get more volunteers? And most people say yes. But 211 uses Hands-On San Diego to help with their volunteer recruitment. And so in just knowing about it, putting that in as part of your emergency response planning for your stake, helping other people know that number, and then, on the flip side of that, putting out, and they're looking for volunteers, and they will always train. And it's a great program. Now when there's no emergency going on, they also provide information for health services, connecting people with housing and insurance needs and things like that. So they don't do things themselves, they just connect people to the resources. So they do a lot. Let's see. They are a nonprofit. Again, that 211 is a simple number to remember and to get a hold of. They collaborate with the county. I'm just making sure I'm hitting all the points here. Let's go to that next slide. If you're still with me, Mike.
I'm still with you, Stanley.
On the bottom, because I was screen capturing, are the people that were on the call. So the main part is, the picture above them. And if you can't quite focus on it, really what that's telling you, again, is what I just told you. It's just saying, you know, that they are connected to the county there, and that they're a non-emergency line, and they can transfer to agencies that can help when asking questions about different needs that someone might have. So again, like I'm thinking of when COVID came up and people were needing assistance with housing, assistance with food, assistance with this kind of thing. 211 is another number that you can connect people to. So again, it's this resource information line of trying to help people in need meet those needs, whatever that need is. They can always direct you. So just a good thing to have in your arsenal as we're trying to get people to, like the Griffins talk about, the Ready San Diego. It's a good thing to know and have that app. It's another great thing for people to know the 211 number for any type of need they might have down the road. Let's go to the next slide. They talked about the record rains that we've had, and they actually mentioned with fire season coming up this year, and yet we've had an atmospheric river multiple times over, and so it seems all our reservoirs are full. Possibly the drought is over, not really, but you know, that's how people are going to be thinking. But also keep in the back of your mind that that record rain has brought on record grass crop now for fire igniting. And so while it says the rain has kept the vegetation heavy, it's still absorbing into the ground, meaning it will delay our fire season by a bit, but we will start getting still small fires, and yet big fires that probably won't happen until it gets really hot, more in July. And you know, when I say that, I don't know if you realize, but when you hear of a fire in your area, you're hearing about it because it's big enough to make the news. But you know, our responders are responding to almost 10,000 fires a year on a regular basis, and most of those never make the news because they see them for whatever reasons, for all the weather cameras that we have, for the lookout towers that we have, all the different things that we have available to us. Really allow them to get to a lot of those fires in a very quick manner, plus all the resources and the shared resources that they continue to get and make helps them have the equipment they need to put that fire out fairly quickly. So let's see, with that being said, you know, active fire season will probably be, you know, in the hotter part of the year, July, August, September, October. And then let's go to the next slide.
Terry, quick question. Are they projecting this year we're going to have a higher than normal fire season, or what are they projecting? What's the latest?
You know, they didn't talk about that in this training, but if, you know, I'm not sure if I've heard projections on what the, does anybody know? Maybe some of you have been more on top of that than I have. Does anyone have any projection on what kind of fires, what kind of weather we're in for the summer? Is it going to be hotter than normal?
I know, Terry, that every year is a terrible fire season. It's too dry, then we're going to have a terrible fire season. Too wet, then we're going to have a lot of fire season. There's going to be a big fire season.
And that's true, you know, because there's stuff that happens on both ends of that scale. So, you know, it kind of just depends.
Well, it's always fire season.
It's always fire season.
We just live in that for that reason. Yeah. And now the only break we had is a lot of stuff was burned over the last few years when we started to go back. So.
Yeah. All right, so this is the activation process. This is talking specifically about trying to recruit volunteers. And they said, if you volunteer, basically, they have an email activation process. They track the weather every day and incidences every day. So if something starts to develop, they'll give you an email that says you may be on standby as a volunteer. If you get activated, they send you a link. and then you go straight to the link and you schedule shifts for what you're willing to work. And then the backup is if email is a challenge, then there's the phone to call in and whatnot. So they talk about the training process that you come in. The room is very orderly and the process is very scheduled. They take you in. They give you training up front. And then every time you go in to make a call, they give you a 30-minute refresher before you start. Especially with the fact of once you start taking calls, they have a trainer that's working with you to help you navigate through the calls until you get comfortable with it. But they say after a few calls, there's a methodical process that happens, and you kind of fall into a rhythm. So, but once you're in training, they give you a color-coded lanyard to identify what shift you are for the day. And of course, there's always a relaxing room to take breaks, and then food and water and so forth. So they say you'll always be escorted into the call center. There's always 2 supervisors to help with getting settled and tackle challenges, and come and help and assist as you're taking calls if needed. And then let's go to the next slide. So this is just talking about why they need volunteers. Oh, nope, that's not the one. That was the first one. Oh, you're muted now.
Yeah, they're a little out of order, it looks like.
Oh, they're out of order.
Let me try
I see.
again.
Yeah, it's the why we need you one. There it is. It says here, calls to the Sheriff's 911 Communications Center doubles when a fire breaks out. Dispatchers are able to answer 89% of those calls in under 15 seconds because of the service provided by 211. So think about if you're calling into the police department or the fire department to find out what's happening, you know, and everybody else is too, you know, how long would you possibly be on hold before you can get through? So again, 211 alleviates that clogging up of the emergency lines and is able to get you information faster. So volunteers at the call center provide invaluable service by answering non-emergency calls that would otherwise clog 911. They need the volunteers to help decompress the 911 system. Person volunteer training, let's see, what if you oh, okay. All right, so that's about all it was. Just trying to let us know what the 211 system does. Again, a great service to get out into the community so other people know it's there and can help unclog the 911 emergency lines during an event, and also, you know, give a avenue for volunteerism as well and promote that within our wards and stakes. So I am supposed to be getting that slide presentation. So if anyone wanted to use something like that to do a presentation, or even we could call 211 and they could possibly do a Zoom meeting and do a presentation. You know, if you thought that would be beneficial to your emergency response council, let's say, you know, to start with, and get them to be familiar with other emergency resources that are out there. And I don't know, just ideas like that. So any questions about that? Okay. Then, Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute and talk about how things are going on your end with your communications Zoom meeting that you have at the beginning of the month. And if you're getting more and more traction, or if you need more help from our emergency response specialists to connect to their communication specialists to get them to the meetings.
Well, I think we're doing okay. I think everybody's going to come. Is coming.
Okay.
Why am I getting a feedback here? Do you hear that echo?
Yeah,
Yeah. Strange. Anyway,
Anyway,
there are new
there are
things that
new
come up
things
every
that come
month,
up every month,
questions and things
questions
that we're
and things
looking
we're
at. One of
looking
the
at.
things
One of
that
the
came
things
up
that
as
came
you
up
sent
as
me
you
that
sent me
that correspondence, that email,
that email,
Terry, that
Terry,
somebody
that
was
somebody
asking
was
about how
asking
you
about
find
how you
hands
find hands
in your
in your
area.
area.
Yes.
And there is, because of what they've done to the website, church websites, giving us better access to information. We used to not be able to get lists of members in the stake. Now all you have to do is go to LDS.org, sign in, go to the map section there, and then when you bring up the stake roster on the left-hand side, you can copy it. Just select it and copy all of the names, and then you go to another, put that into a spreadsheet. Then you go to another website, which helps you find amateur radio operators licensed by zip code.
Mike, we're getting a lot of echo. We're getting an echo.
It's pretty bad, isn't it? I don't know why.
I am not getting that echo.
A large echo.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, we didn't hear it on you, but I think everybody else has. I'm not sure why. So this could be rather painful. Like 5 times painful. Anyway, do you want me to continue?
Yeah.
Wow, you're not hearing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, then go look up the ham radio operators by zip code, make a list of them, paste them both into the same spreadsheet, and then sort by alphabet the names. And so any duplicates will show up as you go down the list. You'll see the same name twice, meaning 1, they're in your stake, and number 2, they're an amateur radio operator. The only caveat to that is if people were licensed, say, in Nebraska and never changed their address to the stake location that they live in, they won't show up. But it is somewhat helpful. Another way you can do it is you just start asking people in the ward, who do you know that has a ham radio license? That's probably the quickest. I know there's been a lot of effort on this particular subdivision software written by, I think it was.
Terry, could you mute? Okay, is that better?
Is it echoing now?
Now it stopped.
Oh, Terry, it was you. It's weird. Good call, Mike. Anyway, Lane Jensen and some other people actually wrote some software to do this, but the clerks would not give them the information that they needed. They wouldn't let them have it. But now you can just go get it. LDS.org, look in in the directory that's there, your stake, you can get it from your stake only. And then you can just copy and paste, put those in a spreadsheet, and it works. So if you want to do that, that's the way to do it. Did it make sense what I was saying? You paste it into the spreadsheet and then you sort it alphabetically by the name column, and it'll alphabetically. So when you sort, then Roberts will be Robert. You see all the Roberts, and the last name will match. When it matches, you get 2 of the same names together. So that's one of the things that we've been working on. And I'm also working on, in our ward, we are ready now to start implementing radio contact. And I know Mickey for a long time has been talking about using FRS. And so there are some very inexpensive Bofang FRS radios that you can charge with a USB connector, which is another thing that we have to be certain and sure of, that if we're going to have radios, we have to have ways to charge them up. And so they have a charger that you can plug them into, set them like a cradle, and they also will charge with a USB connection. And Byron and I did some experimenting with it. Yeah, it's the which one are you using there, Mike? You're muted. You're muted. Hello, Mike. Can't hear you, Mike.
This one is the Radiosity, and then I also have the Bofangs. They're both $40. They're pretty inexpensive and they work really well.
Oh, how many watts?
They're 5 watt.
Yeah.
And they charge with USB.
Right. Well, that's good to know. The ones that I'm looking at, you get like 2 for $20.
Well,
And
those
they
are the FRS, you know.
It's a BF 888 S plus, I think.
Yeah.
Is what they call it. It's only 440, but you know, that gives you the FRS, GMRS, and they work fairly well. The range is limited, and we're going to be testing them. As I said, Byron and I did a little test a while back, and Byron, refresh my memory. Were you able to hear me at my house with the BF 888? 888? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, you know, and I'm over a mile. So what I've done is I've mapped out all of our block captain locations, and I've put half-mile circles around their location. And I think I think half-mile, and that's a conservative for 1 watt. Of course, it depends on where they are and everything. So that's what we're doing. We really have to get these radios figured out, and it's cheap, like 10, 15 bucks a piece. And they're very simple. They don't have a readout. You turn it on and you turn the channel knob on it. Am I taking too long, Terry? You want your time back? I can't hear you. Okay. Well, anyway, so and the other thing with boots on the ground is it's also a wise idea to calculate how you would take care of it if you had absolutely no other way of doing it than walking. And who's going to do that? Where are you going to gather? Who's going to be the marathon runner who goes to the stake president? So it's not an easy setup. It's quite complicated. And then you add that to people being released and people moving away. It's a full-time job, pretty much. Yeah, but it is effective, and it will work.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Sister Jimenez, is there anything you would like to share with us? Is the San Bernardino emergency pretty much over and moving on to anything else, or has it been pretty quiet since then?
It's been pretty quiet since then, and just looking, forward to, well, not looking forward to fire season, but hopefully preparing for fire season and hoping for just some good emergency preparedness plans from our stakes down here in San Bernardino and Riverside. I know you folks are always really good about helping the stakes to prepare. We, as you all know, do not have an ERC committee in either of those two coordinating councils. Lorraine knows this, but hopefully we'll get there someday. I just want to thank you folks for all the work that you do.
Can't hear you, Terry.
That's a tough one. All right. Well, we appreciate you staying in connection with us and, getting information from you as well. And so it's a two-way street there for sure. And I'm glad it sounds like you and Lorraine are already familiar with one another. I wasn't sure.
Nope. I just met her today.
Okay, fabulous. So you might want to tell her then you're calling, because she might not realize the connection there.
Yeah, I'll put it in her.
Okay, perfect. And again, for anyone that didn't have Sister Jimenez contact information, you can find it in the chat as well. Just remember that usually Sister Jimenez is only being, in a real emergency, only being contacted by the stake presidents, but she's certainly, a resource that we can get information from when there's not an emergency going on, and she stays connected to this meeting as much as possible and shares a wealth of knowledge and information. So we thank you for that. And let's see, how about one of the things I noticed as I asked you about staying on the Zoom calendar so that you get these monthly monthly reminders about our ongoing third Thursday meeting is also VOAD operates the same way. They have the same link and they meet the same Tuesday every month. And so if you've received one of those links, copy and paste it somewhere in your contacts and just put it in your calendar and, you know, try and remember, because I actually didn't get an invite from VOAD at all. And Stephen got one, I think, the day of. And so sometimes those things happen. So if you're always waiting for a link to come to you for meetings that happen on a regular basis, just know that usually those links are the same. And if you copy and paste them somewhere, you should, even though you don't get a reminder, you should be able to connect to it at its regular time. Did anyone go to the VOAD meeting this last Tuesday? Stephen Egbert, did you not go to the VOAD meeting?
I went to the VOAD meeting. I listened to the other meeting with Becky's meeting at the same time here. The VOAD meeting was very, very short. It was very, very short. Did you need more information? It was very, very short.
Terry, Brother Duhamel and I have a conflict. We serve the temple on that morning at the VOAD meeting, so we can't attend. We try to get some of our communication specialists to attend, but we serve the temple on Tuesday mornings.
I'm out of town on Tuesday mornings, and I'm usually in a meeting at work.
This week, it was only 15 minutes long, basically introductions, and that was the end of it, because they didn't send out an agenda until after the meeting started. I have the agenda, I could forward it to everyone, but it's just basically everyone introduced themselves and then I gave the opportunity to provide what projects they were working on. Jerry Hansen, he's not on tonight, right? He was there with me. So there were two of about the 10 or 15 of us were church members.
One of the things though with VOAD, you know, with no real emergency happening right now, the opportunity to get on board and see who the players are and know who you could contact in each one of those organizations is still really valuable. So even that 15 minutes in introductions, you know who was there from Red Cross. And, you know, if you want to make a contact with one of those organizations to help with your preparedness planning, which is a great one-stop shop area, you can do that. Then again, it's just worth your time, I think. Not every time, but at least a couple times a year that you connect with that group so that you stay up to date with who the current contacts are for each.
I could add that if we had a disaster, the meeting might last about 2 hours. So if they're trying to respond and everything, it's not a 15, it's a very flexible meeting right now. It could be short or it could be long. One thing we did ask was about the involvement with the migrants out, the large number of migrants that are coming in. And right now, VOAD has none of the volunteer organizations have done very much, have been asked to do very much. That's all being handled by the government. I believe Catholic Charities and Jewish Family Services are the main people, and our church contributes large amounts of food and things that we as a group don't see, because that's above our local issues, local concerns right now, but it could change.
Absolutely. And again, what they'll do when it is in a larger meeting like that is they'll ask each of us as organizations that are part of VOAD what our resources and strengths are and how we can contribute to, the problems that are presenting themselves. And then they'll portion it out by your availability and resource capability and assign you. And then we work with the county in their plan through VOAD as partners, who does what. So we're not stepping on each other's toes and, doing redundant jobs and, things that are outside the scope of the organization that they already have in play for whatever the emergency is. So.
Yep, that's right, Terry. Can I also add, I'm listening to 2 meetings at once. I can do that because I got hearing aids, one ear and one ear. But Terry and I went to the Fire Safe Council. Did you mention that one, that you and I went to the Fire Safe Council meeting? It was a big general meeting down at and it was very interesting that hopefully all your communities in your states, you probably have 2 or 3. There's about 40 fire councils in San Diego County. And since we have about 10 to 11 stakes in San Diego County, I'm guessing there's probably 3 or 4 fire safe councils in each stake. I hope you get to know the players and everyone. They have money. Fire safe councils have money, but they don't have is volunteers. And so that was what Terry and I heard the whole time, is that we have these projects, we have these service things that we want to do. We want to accomplish things for preventing fires and wildfires and making the community safe, but we don't know how to get volunteers.
Yeah, agreed. And it's worthwhile if you can find a fire safe council near you to just sit in and find out what the concerns are in the community and see what's closest to your wards or stakes and where they could possibly help, just even with one project. So just ways, again, to stay connected to the community, because again, in this position as an emergency response coordinator, it is an outward facing calling, and we are looking for ways to bridge the community and our members together. And it's not going to be for everyone, but it'll be for the few that, are able to do it at the time. And it will mean a lot to the organizations that we help serve and your community that you're helping to protect. So thank you, Stephen, for adding that. But let's go on real quick. Social media, I know I talked about the website, but just be aware that Beverly's really been working hard behind the scenes, trying to help with social media push, to help get information to trickle down from stakes to wards. She's really trying to stay on top of who the current communication directors are in each ward, and then the social media specialists in stakes and ward as well. So again, if you have changes in those callings, you know who those people are. That's another one you can help keep us connected to, so that we can get the word out when we need to get the word out. With that being said, let's go on to individual here. And I just want to give Lorraine a chance to speak. Lorraine, so you're going to go first, and what we do here is just you're new to the group, so not everybody's familiar with you. Just give us a little background and tell us anything new that's going on in your area or that your stake or ward is participating in, or maybe what successes you guys have had in preparedness, or what weaknesses you have and want to strengthen, and maybe what some goals would be. So hopefully she heard all that and is able to respond. Miss Lorraine, are you able to hear us and unmute? Oh, there you are. Now let's see if we can hear her. Yeah, we're still not able to hear you if you can hear us at all. I see that you're participating in the chat, so I feel like you can hear us. Is your volume up by chance? Okay, well, Lorraine, while you're figuring that out, maybe I will ask somebody else until we can actually hear you. So with that, Marlon Griffin from Penasquitos. if you're still there and you're able to unmute and give us an update what Penasquitos is doing. Okay, so I'm not sure what happened to Marlon there, but Bill Snap, how about Escondido?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, what we're doing now, we're just a little bit of a regrouping stage. We had, bless his heart, Mike Diamond came up and gave us an excellent rundown on the mapping situation and how to do that. So we're basically, our next meeting, which is a week from today, we're going to compare and share information relative to the mapping situation and also relative to the stake and ward emergency planning guide, if that's all filled out and completed. And then they're going to report back as well relative to their ward emergency council. They got that set up relative to their Relief Society, Elders Quorum, ward clerk, and what other additions or substitutes they need relative to the particular need of each given ward. Some of them are all spread out and some of them are very compact, and so they'll have different needs. So our upcoming meeting is going to be share and compare. I see you. I can't hear you.
Thank you. You guys are getting a lot of support from leadership as well, so that's a real big help, right?
We have excellent support from our leadership. So relative to the state president and his counselor in charge. So they both jumped in, and so we're very pleased that we do have that support. So we're going to make faster progress now. And so far, our state president has actually attended each of our meetings. So he's really concerned because he knows he's where the buck stops. And
Yeah.
so he wants to be prepared for that.
Right, right. And I like how Brother Cottam is assisting and you guys are working together on this. And that's kind of what we want to as a good working team.
Yeah, and that's so that we have the redundancy and everything. And I got Howard because he's such a capable person. So he's very he helps keep the glue together. So together we work. And so if one person's out of town, the other person will fill in and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. All right. Thank you for sharing. Then let's go on to, where was I? Everybody's changed. Somebody moved around. Oh, Bob Duhamel, San Diego East. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So really slow getting things going here. Wayne is helping me a lot with
Yeah, I have a good update for you on there. Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Mainly, I only have one ward communication specialist to work with, and I think we may have lost him. I don't know. Is that still the case, Wayne, or do you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so we need to have some ward specialists called, so I have something to coordinate.
Yeah.
Right now, all we have going is in the Thurs Mt ward and the Santee ward. We do have a net on the ham radio every Sunday evening.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is expand that across the stake, but need to get some volunteers in there to do that. So and I'm working on ways, because our stake has some hills in it, and we can't get from one end of the stake to the other simplex, and so I want to work out a way to have some smaller groups work together, then report to a central controller. Once I have some ward specialist called, then maybe I can organize that. But right now, it's just the Thurs Mt ward and Santee ward doing a net, and we'll have to see how we can go from there. Also been discussing, working with FRS and GMRS. FRS is pretty short range, but that would be great for neighborhoods, and then coordinate with that with the ham radio people for the for the longer range communication, but that's all we really have going at this time.
Okay,
Yeah. Let me update you, Terry.
go ahead.
I was going to meet with our state council 2 weeks ago, and they delayed it till this coming Sunday. So I'm going to brief him this coming Sunday. And overall, I'm a little disappointed where we have a lot of open callings, and it's sometimes difficult to get leaders to get the callings made. So I'm going to mention that to the state president and see if he can't churn that up a little bit. But what we do have that I am extremely proud of, our Santee ward is phenomenal. They have got everything organized. Brother John Coffey has got that organized. They've got a wonderful plan in place, Terry. They've got all their at-risk members identified. They have got plans and procedures to take care of them, like including an emergency generator needed. But I mean to tell you, Santee has got its stuff in one huge basket. They're really quite good. And I'm going to have the state president emphasize what John Coffey has done. They're going to have the 5th Sunday. He's going to give a presentation on emergency response to his ward. And I'm going to have the state president encourage the other wards to do the same thing. And Brother Coffey has also agreed he would help them put that together. So I'm very excited. We're going to get our stuff to going real well. But right now it's because of Santee ward, and they're doing an absolutely phenomenal job. And much of it is Brother John Coffey. So I'm very pleased with that. So I'm sure we'll get it going and we'll catch up and so on. Okay.
Okay. John Coffey, can I ask you if you can join in the conversation?
All right.
What tell us how this got as successful as where you are now. What were the things that really helped get this moving? I know Wayne says that you're the spark, but did you find?
No, I kind of come from a different training angle. I've been through a lot of this before. I'm an ex-Green Beret medic, so I've got a little bit of experience here. And the basic thing is not getting involved with the peripheral stuff. It's not going to help you a whole lot. And what happens is most people get bogged down with that. And so we realize that we have a very large area to cover in the ward. So the simplest thing to do is make sure we know where we need to go when there is an emergency, instead of waiting for somebody to say, hey, I need your help. And so I met with the Elders Quorum presidency, and we determined who needed help, and then we determined who's going to be assigned to go visit them in case of emergency. After they get their own family taken care of, then their responsibility is to do that. But I've also told them that I just feel like we're going to have a fire that we have to deal with. So we're working with that, and we have a lot of open area. So people live near those open areas are going to have to be prepared to evacuate. And so we haven't got completely everybody notified yet, but we're working on it. And like in priesthood meeting, I always take 4 or 5 minutes to give them a hint, like, hey, here's how you can collect some water. Here's little hints on getting their 72 hours stuff put together. But the other thing that I can guarantee you we're going to have, and some people aren't thinking about, is San Diego Gas and Electric is going to mess with us this summer. And we're going to have rolling blackouts. And they're not going to be at a convenient time. So we have one sister that, had a lung transplant and she's on oxygen. So we've got we don't have a whole lot of people like that, 8 or 10, but we've got them covered.
can I ask at that point, it's great that the ward or stake is looking out for those individuals in needs and can have them covered. But specifically to the scenario that you're speaking of with SDG&E, is there any thought to connecting with them to let them know who the vulnerable are, because they do offer generators for medically assisted
Well,
people?
we're covered. The only one that really has a huge emergency has a generator. And we've also located probably 6 or 7 members of the ward that have generators.
Perfect.
So the one I'm not worried about is we've got a few people that have CPAPs, but they can go without that for a day or two. That's not life threatening.
Right.
So the thing that I'm trying to do is, if they have to stay at home and they don't have power, I want them. I'm just one of those guys that says, you know what, just because we're in a bad situation doesn't mean we can't be comfortable.
Right.
And so that's what we're going with.
Right. So
Terry, SDG&E has a program where people can sign up and they will contact them in case of emergency and follow up with them and so on. So if you like, I'll give you the name of that program and so on. But SDG&E has a program to do that.
Right. I am familiar with it, and I would hope other, again, stakes and wards, if you don't have access to generators like that, you can have people, they have to do it for themselves, but, you know, through their own account with SDG&E can apply for that medical baseline assistance and, you know, see about getting generators for when they have those rolling blackouts, and SDG&E will deliver them. And also knowing about their resource centers, if you do get shut down for neighborhoods and communities, especially in the rural areas, that they have mobile resource centers that they roll out during those blackouts so that people can go and get real-time information, but plug in laptops, cell phones, get blankets, water, different resources like that. So it is something to be prepared for these rolling blackouts, but it is also something SDG&E is trying to be proactive ahead of time to help reduce the amount of trouble that then causes. So just be aware that they you know, are trying to work with the communities as well. So it would behoove you to get familiar with the programs that they offer, just in case you need them or your ward or stake members need them. Anything else then, John, that you wanted to add to that?
No, we're just doing some little things. Like, I put together a really extensive, large first aid kit that can be used for the young women and young men when they're on their, you know, summer camping trips and stuff, or when the ward's on the camping trip, something they can grab and go just in case of emergency that'll be available for them. We have that in the bishop's office, and just, you know, little things. That's about it.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
All right.
Terry,
yes,
if you don't mind, since I got out of the hospital a few hours ago, I'm running out of gas. If you don't mind, I'd like to leave the meeting and I'll get your notes and so on. So thank you so much. Okay.
You're welcome, Wayne. Thank you for joining. I can't even believe you just got out 2 hours ago. So
well, I'm doing okay, but I need to you know, leave. So thank you. Looking for the next meeting. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. And then let's try Mickey and Delmar. Mickey Cross, are you unmuting?
Still reeling. Yeah. Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So we're still reeling from having a couple wards blown up and a new one created. So I'm trying to, you know, make sure all the bishops are, for the new ward has a new, anyway, I'm trying to make sure everybody's got everything that they need in their wards as far as ERS people, and still working on them to get their boots on the ground. Some of them have done some work, enough work on it. Some others have not done anything on it, and I'm hounding them as much as I can.
Okay, well, that's all we can do. Those invites and reminders.
Oh, and I was going to say for FRS.
Yeah.
Before we had
Okay, I lost the last part of that. I heard you that you had Hills and you work with your FRS.
She's back on. She dropped off completely. Now she's back on.
Nope, now she's off again. All right, boy, communication's a little difficult tonight, huh? All right, Mickey, we'll get back to you if you've got something more to add, or you can put it in the chat. Let's try the Griffins and see if they came back at all. Mike? Marlon, I mean, I don't know, I said Mike. I'm looking at Mike. There you are.
You want to talk to Mike or Marlon?
Marlon.
Oh, okay. Thank you. We like your dangling earrings too. That's kind of entertaining.
Thanks.
We've had some success. One of the wards asked us to come out and do an emergency response and preparedness on the 5th Sunday, and that was very enjoyable to be able to have both areas covered. This is an area that Rancho Bernardo that has had multiple fires in various places, and so they felt what to do, and we just again pushed the idea of the emergency response SD emergency app. Church is not good at telling people to evacuate, but the county is fantastic, and they should get all the new members, especially with that app. So the word's doing well. I think we're ready for the September deal. By then we'll have probably brand new people in each ward, but things are working. Thank you.
And you're still getting support from your elders quorum?
As much as we can. You know, it's an ongoing challenge, but we still, the state president wants the emergency response person from the elders quorum presidency, so that they don't have to always be what do they call it? Power at the table of authority versus outside in the ward someplace that nobody knows who they are in case there's a challenge. I just think every state could have their emergency response person in the elders quorum presidency, maybe the Region Society presidency, one of those two. They would be able to easily pull this together. Otherwise, the person's so far away from authority, the bishops and state presidency don't know who they are.
Yeah. And, John Coffey just dropped off, but, it's not always a bad thing when you're rotating people in and out of callings, because you never know when you're going to get that John Coffey or Bill Snap or Howard Cottom or Mike DeGraw that just really grabs the bulls by the horn and, can be proactive and start getting that buy-in and participation. So it'll happen. It just, it kind of ebbs and flows, and we have to have patience sometimes and just allow that process and, keep working on what we can do. I
have this philosophy that if we all have SD emergency on our phones, they'll get us out of the emergency, then eventually the church will take over and things will work themselves. But if we don't have get out of the area on a disaster, then that just causes major problems. And we can take care of that, each individual person.
Well, I'd like to give Sister Jimenez's example. We're talking about this, and in a lot of cases, especially here in California within the last 10 years, I can safely use that statistic. With any emergency that seems to have cropped up, in most cases, the members in the wards and stakes seem to be pretty well, if not prepared, at least willing to respond and help each other out. And normally what the need becomes is in the communities surrounding them. with those who may be, less able to connect to resources and have that preparedness level. And so this is why this is an outward facing calling, because once we make sure we are safe, as Brother Coffee said, then we need to turn around and see who it is that needs help. And in Sister Jimenez's experience, through the stake presidents, the ask for community assistance then can go up to Salt Lake, and the members then can facilitate being volunteers to help get that assistance out that comes in way of whatever, whether it's food or commodities or, cleaning supplies or whatnot. So it's a great thing both ways, preparedness within and preparedness without those connections. Again, this is partly almost a missionary and service, calling in that sense. So let me just really quickly then, Lorraine, are you able to get back in at all? You think your communications has come on? You see, she's going to try one more time here.
Microphone isn't working.
Yeah, for some reason your audio is just not working tonight. I don't know why, Lorraine. Good thing to work on for next time, see if we can get that bug worked out. All right, let me move on to Mike DeGraw. We haven't talked to you about Poway. Where are you guys at?
Okay, just a quick note too on the PNAC. I'm going to be on the East Coast next week, so I'm not going to be able to help with that breakfast.
Okay.
On the 4th of June, we're going to have a committee meeting. You're invited to come at 2 o'clock at the other building, not the Stake Center, the Twin Peaks building.
Okay. I'm sorry, was that June 4th, you said?
It's June 4th at 2 o'clock.
Got it. Okay.
So Rob was supposed to reach out to there's 2 wards that didn't have an ERS, so he's reaching out to those bishops. And I've been reaching out to the other ERSs in the ward and inviting them to the stake level committee. So we'll have the stake people and the ward people involved this next one. I don't remember what the new stake president's counselor that's over emergency preparedness showed up at our last meeting. And he's the one that kind of pushes to have this next one quicker rather than quarterly. So they're proactive, so that was good. So other than that, again, I'm building the GRMS repeater for the city of Poway with Dan Hobart, and they wanted a business plan, so Dan's writing the business plan, and then I'm going to provide the kind of the test group. I could probably get most all the wards in the state in our stake on that radio, so we can maybe expand that to the other wards. So the first one will be our ward, and then the coverage map that we have for that size of radio at the fire station, we'll be able to hit most of town. So we should be able to cover most everybody in town. So we'll use the church to kind of prove the business plan, and then the city of Poway sees that as being advantageous, then they'll open that up, I think, to the public if they want to buy their own radio. Then the city will disseminate emergency information to that network, and it will obviously automatically go to board members or block captains who have radios. That's where I'm at.
Can I get your feedback? I think you went to the emergency fair at the beginning of the month.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I think there was, I was over in the CERT booth, so there was a lot of people showed interest in just understanding more about ham radio stuff. But then the conversation would quickly turn to GMRS as well, because a lot of people don't want to get their ham license, but they can buy, they can buy a GMRS license for $30. And so I think both, everybody in the booth was pretty helpful, and people who are interested in disseminating both the ham information, GMRS information, and of course, Brian's always super helpful. So
yeah,
and he's not like pro ham either. I mean, he's willing to say if you don't want to get your ham license, at least get a GMRS. He's not I call them hamoids.
Did you have participation in that booth with any other members of PACT, or was it?
Yeah, Triple E showed up, and Triple E showed up. He was there and helped out a little bit, and then Area 51 guy,
Angelo.
Angelo showed up for a little bit, and then a new guy that came up. I think he was on our net last week. He showed up, lives in the old Patway area, and wanted to figure out which neighborhood he was in. And I was more than happy to let him know that we needed neighborhood volunteers. And so he was a new guy that logged in at that last net. So we spent a lot of time talking. He's a pilot, and so we spent a lot of time talking.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, we have a new neighborhood rep.
Excellent. 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 All right. So I think that covers everyone. Is there anyone that had anything else, Brother Bonet? Tell me again how I'm supposed to pronounce your name, because I'm going to say it wrong every time. I want to say Bonet. I just can't help it.
You can say it any way you want. I'll know who you're talking to, but I go by Bonnet.
Bonnet, right. So anything that you've learned since you've had the calling, any insight or words of wisdom you want to share with us?
No other than Brother Guyman said at one time is about how we should try and also incorporate a spiritual part to it, because I think that's a key part. Is it is a serious topic about a response, but there's also the spiritual side to it too, that I think helps, at least with the members of the ward, but I think it'll resonate with other people too, though, is just the spiritual side of it. That's something that we should try and remember, that there's a spiritual side to it too. Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping through your emergency response councils, when you're counseling with one another about this response plan, that everyone's going to bring a little piece of spiritual insight to it, as well as preparedness insight, and that you'll have that balance. Again, trying to address the needs of your specific ward and stake. We're not trying to be exactly like each other, because we have different needs, different demographics, different topographies. So it definitely takes some spiritual insight, prayer, revelation, inspiration to be able to address all those things. And it's, again, why one person should not be in charge of that, but you should have a council that you can counsel with. The Relief Society will have that better insight to some of those more tender needs of the most vulnerable, and your Elders Quorum president is going to maybe have a better handle on resources or technological skills, or just something else that they can bring to the table. And then even have, it's not a bad thing to have your primary representative and a young women representative, if you can get that bandwidth within your council, and address what the needs will be. Or if an event happens within your stake and ward and you're looking for volunteers to do certain things, can the youth be a part of that? Can the missionaries be a part of that? And we've heard definitely from the San Diego mission that yes, the missionaries can and want to be a part of any volunteer efforts in that situation. So rounding out your program with those kind of things, I think is crucial. So great job, everyone, for the strides that you've made in this last month. And I hope, by sharing, we are encouraging each other, giving each other ideas, and inspiring new thoughts to come along that we can take back to our wards and stakes, and try and see if we can get that leadership and buy-in that we need to keep growing these programs. So with that being said, is there anything anyone else wanted to talk about before we close? We seem to go about an hour and a half each time, so I don't know how to make it any shorter without cutting off really good information, especially coming from you guys. So I appreciate you hanging on, and again, we'll continue to try and keep you informed with any new updates, and I'll send out the minutes from tonight and pass them on to anyone that wasn't here if we have information you think they need to know. So with that, let's go ahead and have a closing prayer. And can we just have the bookends from Escondido? Bill Snap, could you offer our closing prayer?
thankfulness for the opportunity we have to serve and serve our fellow mankind. We thank thee for the leadership that helps us to prepare for emergency responses, and we pray that thy will bless us that we might not only prepare physically, but prepare spiritually for the emergencies that will come. We thank thee for thy many blessings and for thy guidance and direction. And we pray for thy guidance and direction to continue to be with us through this coming month. We do so in the name of thy Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.